And a lot of people won't do it. They'll note it and they'll say they're going to do it, and they don't do it. This one guy did it that was in Europe. And I got a Facebook message from him. He said his whole life changed. When I first did the tension journal, I was in a workshop. And I broke out this journal and I said, okay, I want to get better with tension today. And it wasn't my workshop, it was somebody else's. And I was just sitting in there, it was a big room of people. And I said, I want to figure out how to get better with tension today. So I started looking around the room and I started asking myself, where is there tension, opportunity for me to step into some tension here today? There's a lot of potential people that could benefit what I was doing, or people that were building businesses, and people that were working on different things. And I was like, okay. And I saw these different opportunities. So I started writing down the opportunities. Like write just a little sentence, description of what it was. And then I would ask myself, what is this on a scale of 1 to 10, or 0 to 10? 0 being no tension, which there's never a 0, I wouldn't have written it down. And 10 being so much tension that I pretty much couldn't, it would probably pop my breaker. I couldn't handle that. But if I wanted to try it, I could try it. That's why the number's there. And then I'd say, okay, how could I make this, if it's a 10, if it's a 1 or a 2, it's something I can do. I can go do it really quick. Well, why don't I just go do it now? It's a 1 or a 2, it's easy. And then I would write down beneath it what I learned from it. Okay, I stepped over and I said X to this girl that's sitting here because I thought she was cute. Awesome. I write that down, and I write down what I learned from it. Not what went wrong, how I could have done it better, what I learned from it. I want to get some positive feedback on my experience. Then anything that's high, let's say a 9 or a 10, how can I reduce it a little bit? For you guys that are meeting women, if it's going over and telling that woman I really like her and that's a 9 or a 10, how could I make it a 6, a 7, a 5, somewhere in that range? If I just go ask her the time, would that lower the tension on it? And I might notice that does. So then I would do that. And I would go do that activity. And then I'd write down what I learned from it. And if I have to do that 20, 30 times before I can do something that has more tension on it, that's fine. But each time I'm writing down that activity. That afternoon, I just kept writing thing after thing down that I did. I would do it, write it down, do it, write it down. And I was collecting page after page of experiences stepping into tension. And then a little positive note after each one of what I learned from it. And then I was staying in a hotel, so I'd go to bed reading all those positive experiences that day. And every time I did another one, because I wasn't doing things that were a 10. If I was doing all things that were a 10, it would burn me out. But because I was doing things that were 5s and 6s and some 3s and 4s, what was happening was I was feeling more self-love, more power after each one. I was feeling more alive. It was getting exciting. It was getting fun. Because even going over, even though I didn't say get a date with this girl or get her phone number, because I just asked her the time, it was a sense of accomplishment because I was facing the tension and celebrating it in my journal. And then there was more of a sense of accomplishment and more of a sense of accomplishment. And I'd write all these down. And I could feel myself stretching myself. I gave this assignment, and sometimes I tell people do 5 a day. At that moment, I probably did, 30, 40, 50 that day. And I've done that too, where I'll go out for an hour and I'll just do as many as I can in an hour. Walk down 3rd Street and just start noting things and do them for the whole hour. And that's another thing I'll do. And that's a very powerful practice. Either one is a very, very powerful practice. I give the assignment to go out and do it 5 a day, just as a regular part of my talk. And one guy, and a lot of people won't do it. They'll note it and they'll say they're going to do it and they don't do it. This one guy did it that was in Europe. And I got a Facebook message from him. He said his whole life changed from it. He said, he sent me a picture of the journal. It was this leather-bound journal because I told him, get a nice journal so it represents you. Walk down the street and do it with that, and then just watch what happens. And what happened for him was interesting is he said in the short period of time he'd been doing it, I don't remember how long it was, he got a $9,000 a year raise, 9,000 euro a year raise, a new girlfriend, and they were moving in together, and plus a bunch of other stuff. His whole life had changed because he was stepping into tension every day. A little bit more, a little bit more. He was stretching himself, adding a little more weight, and doing it consciously and learning to enjoy it and appreciate it. When you're writing it down, you're learning to do it from choice. You're looking and saying, and you're getting the number right, you're learning to do it from choice. If you get the number wrong, you're gonna have to force yourself, right? And so that's the other piece that's missing. It's building your confidence, it's building your self-esteem, it's doing all these amazing things. Now remember, if you're trying to step into 10s and you're telling yourself that, oh, this is a 6, and you're forcing yourself, that's probably not gonna have the same effect. You're gonna have to do it and it's gonna take you backwards. is very important when you do this, okay? Doing it consistently is important. Consistency is probably one of the most important principles there is. Without consistency, we just don't grow. Try to work out inconsistently. Has it ever worked? Yeah. Try to eat healthy inconsistently. Has it ever worked? None of this works. Consistency is super fucking essential. How do you make money in the bank accounts, investing money? Consistency, compounding interest. And it's all, compounding interest applies to everything. And when compounding interest takes effect, it might look like not much is happening. And then one day, if you keep doing it, it goes like this. And you're like, it's like amazing. If I took a chart out and showed you the doubling of a penny over 31 days, how much money would you have? Over 10 million. Over $10 million. The doubling of a penny over 30 days is over $10 million. And what's amazing about it, and this is the compounding interest piece, and this happens to a lot of guys. They go out and they think, this week, like maybe you'll have a week where it seems like nothing's happening. So I want you to notice, day 11, he's at $10. Day 15, $163. Not much is happening here, is it? This is how we grow. Same way in everything you do. Day 17 days in, $655. Not much money compared to 10 million. He hits 2,000 here on day 19. He's at 167,000 on day 25, 5 days from 30. He doesn't even hit $1 million until day 28, and by day 31, he's at 10 million. So most of the growth is right in here, and that's how it works. When we break the consistency of our work, we say, well, I'm going to take this day off, and I'm going to take these few days off, it won't matter. It doesn't look like it matters because you're only taking out $10. But in the end, because you break that consistency, it has a huge effect on the end and on the compound at the end. And that's where almost every unsuccessful person in business fails, is due to breaking these patterns over and over and over again. Fitness, health, and almost any area of life. This is the number one cause of failure, whether it's at 3 days a week, 7 days a week, 6 days a week, okay? And so these two things mixed together, doing something like stepping into tension every day consistently and doing your practice, adjusting, refining it, cleaning it up, but still doing it, not breaking the consistency. If you fall down, don't beating yourself up, get back on. And when I show you this chart, how many people kind of reflect over their life and say, wow, look at all those places I started to build something and I stopped, and I can see where everything fell back down. Think of the Beatles. The Beatles were, some people called them an overnight success because they became famous overnight, right? But do you realize how many years they put in doing shows every night, like 7 days a week in dingy bars before they became an overnight success? They just worked. The consistency was all here. The overnight success was here, okay? So they weren't an overnight success. They were building roots, just like the seed. They were digging downward. You couldn't see the work. You couldn't see what was happening. And when the roots got built, everything came up. That's everything going on under the surface. And that's why most human beings don't get rich and don't succeed. They won't follow through with their consistency. And you can also, and here's the other part, not only do they not do the consistency, they do the consistency in reverse and compound downwards. Most people compound into the negative. Every day eating one too many donuts, every day doing all these horrible things, and they compound backwards. And so that's why you suddenly get to the end of life of people, and you look at one guy who's 60, 70 years old, and he's still ripped and healthy, and you see this other guy who looks like he's just walking with his walker and his cane falling down, and you're like, what happened? They're the same fucking age. One compounded in backwards, one compounded forward. One of the exercises we do is 100 highs, where we just say hi to 100 people. That's a basic exercise. So you can walk down the street and just look people in the eye, and you get about 10 feet away before you do it, because if you're walking, you're gonna pass each other fast. So you don't wanna be standing right next to each other saying hi, because then they're like turning around, or they're like, you know. Oh, yeah. These aren't stops, these are just highs. So we do have stops too. And so as you walk by and you're 10 feet away, you're like, hey, how you doing? And especially if they're sitting down, that's easy. Hey, how you doing? But if they're walking towards you, then you want a little space because you're both moving. And if they're not looking at you, which a lot of them won't be, you'll say hi. Sometimes it's easier to wave because it catches their eye. And you want to feel your heart open. You want to feel relaxed. You want to feel calm in your body. This is where you're developing indifference to outcome and choice. Because if I'm in have to, my body's going to go like this. And I'm going to go, hi. And they're going to feel that. Or I'm going to be like trying to push it and force it. And I'm walled up here and I'm here, hi. And they're going to feel that. And then they're going to be like, weirdo. And you'll get some people that'll nod, smile, say hi back. And the more walled off you are and the more you're down here, the less people will respond to you. The more you get up here, you're going to get 70-80% of people at least nodding, smiling back. You're going to get people saying hi and people even talking to you. Hey, how you doing? Oh, hey, have a beautiful day. The higher you go, the more positive energy is going to get created and the more you're going to enjoy it. The lower you go, the more it's going to get heavy. That's how you're going to know. And so what happens is after a while, if you get really good at this, you don't even have to skip people. You just go free. And that might take hundreds of highs, 500, 600. But you're running along and you're like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? And people don't respond back, you just don't care. And that's what makes you interesting to people. And suddenly other people are like, that guy's kind of interesting. And you're just like, what's up? How you doing? And then if some nice dog, cute dog, and you might go, somebody stops and looks at you, go, hey, and you might shake their hand, you move over to this person, you just keep flowing. And you keep setting yourself free. This is an indifference to outcome and an expression practice. It's learning to be open. That's the whole reason for it. Then once you're free in this area, maybe you've done 100 highs 5 days a week for a month and you just don't give a fuck anymore. And you're standing somewhere, you're standing at Starbucks and you don't even realize it and you're like talking to the cute girl next to you and you didn't even realize you started the conversation. It just came out of you because you say hi to everybody now. And it seems so natural, she's just talking to you and you're like, wow, usually this is awkward. But it's not awkward anymore, okay? And then there's stops, where you actually stop 100 people. Saying 100 highs, if you're really good at it, can take about a half hour. Just flowing through a crowd. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? If you're not good at it, it might take 45 minutes, an hour. If it takes much more time than that, then there's something wrong. If you're skipping a lot of people, there's a problem in that. If you're crashing, there's a problem in that. It's good to do it with a friend. Have them follow behind you, have them count for you. You don't count because it'll put you in your head. If you have to do it yourself, you hit a clicker. Click, 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 click. Take a break every 5 to 10 and relax and then do it for 2 minutes and start again. Relax, a few minutes, start again. And you just learn to flow. Your goal is to get into tension and flow or flow state. Then the next step is 100 stops. But 100 stops is really stopping people and asking questions. From basic questions to directions to time, all the way up to playing with tension, all the way up to being direct and telling a girl she's beautiful. And just flowing through the crowd. I might stop 10 people, see a girl I like, go talk to her really quick, and then keep going through the crowd, stopping people, asking them questions. Oh, cute dog. Oh my God, can I steal it? And I've done that. Can I steal your dog? It's so cute. And they were like, oh, we're looking for a home for it here. And I was like, I was kidding. But I've made you meet a lot of people doing stops. And so that's the basic principle. And so with stops is not you trying to run routines or patterns. It's you learning to surrender, do less. It's you learning to flow. It's you learning not to give a damn what they think of you while you talk. The more you just work on. So the first thing we do in stops is we work on one skill set at a time. So I'm going to explain them a little bit. So with each stop, if you're at that level, I'll stop somebody and I might just work on eye contact. Hey, how you doing? Good, cool. Hey, do you know where such and such is? Awesome, thank you. And then I go to the next person. Hey, excuse me, how you doing? Do you know what time it is? Yeah, I'm totally lost. I think my watch is broken. And then you kind of go from there and talk and joke for a sec and work. And I might work on 5, 10 people with eye contact. So simple questions. Hey, do you know where the Nike store is? Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And then ask them another question. Then roll on to the next person. And I want to keep them short. Unless it's somebody I really want to meet. Like I see a girl I really like, I might talk to her a little longer, right? Get to know her. So you just rolling through the stops, doing 5 at a time, taking a break, 10 at a time, taking a break, whatever makes sense to you, and then working on another skill set. The next skill set I might work on is feeling my legs, because that's going to help me to ground. With each person, while I was walking up and while I was talking to them, could I feel my legs? If I can't feel my legs, I'm probably racing up here. You need to be able to feel your whole body because you communicate through your body, and hence why we're working on feeling each part of the body with the stops. Because the body is what has the emotions in it. The body is what you talk with. The body is your satellite dish. It pushes and pulls information. If you're in your head racing, it's akin to driving a car on the freeway while sitting on the roof of the car and trying to reach to the window and steer. How effective is that? If your body is the only vehicle you've got to communicate and go through life with. If you're not in it, feeling it fully, you are doing ineffective communication. Because that's where all the chemicals that create emotions run through the body. Recap, you got the tension journal. I would say for tonight, you guys pick one of these exercises and go out and do it. Tension journal is one. Another one is the highs. You can even journal your experience from the highs, and you can mix that in as part of the tension journal. And then stops. And stops, I'd work on eye contact, feeling my heart, feeling my legs. And then after that, if you can get all that, your turn on, your actual sexual turn on, your creative energy. Which first you want to be able to ground yourself before you really turn that up. Okay? Does all that make sense?